All right. I think everyone is here. Welcome, everyone, to Madison Reed's Hair Color House Party. We are coming to you live and on Facebook Live from our kitchens and our bathrooms, coloring our hair and learning about hair color together as a community. And it is our goal to make sure that at the end of the night, you leave here feeling like you can totally color your own hair at home with no stress. We're going to answer all your questions, do a great demonstration, give you some pro tips. So it's going to be a lot of fun and very educational. And today you're going to get double a dose of beauty and fun because we are partnering with SheKnows. And they are an inclusive community that supports women with the latest news, service, inspirational stories to best support and care for themselves and their families. And they are with us tonight. We actually have a special guest, Eugenia Miranda Richman from SheKnows. She's the editor-in-chief. Eugenia, are you there?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I am joining you tonight from New York. I'm so happy to be part of this hair coloring house party with Madison Reed, and I cannot wait to share a self-care tip from one of our own stories later tonight.
Yay. Thank you, Eugenia. So we're going to hear a little from her about the multitasking, what we do at that time while we're sitting, waiting for our hair color to cook for that 35 to 45 minutes. She's got some great tips for us. Another thing that we like to do, if you're new to Hair Color House Party, you might not know this, but this is just something that's very close to our heart. For every person who's in attendance at Hair Color House Party, we actually donate $1 per person to Direct Relief. They do so much good in the world, work with a lot of different causes, and we are so happy to support them. So it's something that, you know, you can look good and sort of like feel good inside by being here tonight with us. We do have a contest. So anytime that we are doing a hair color house party, we will give away the full kit experience of whatever the model is using. So tonight, our friend Susan is going to be doing what we call the perfect pair. Hi, Susan.
Hi, hello from Dallas. I'm so excited to cover my grays. I can't tell you.
And we are very, very excited to watch. Susan is a master colorist. She actually wouldn't maybe say this herself, but she is the genius colorist behind our color formulation. She actually formulated all the colors for Madison Reed. So this is a woman who knows what she's talking about. So for every hair color house party that we do, whatever we're using, we give that away for free to one audience member. And the only thing that you need to do to qualify to be a winner is have your camera on for the hair color house party. If you go camera on, we don't care what you look like. We don't care if you're wearing a bun or you're a blowout or whatever, but just camera on is the only rule. And then by the end of the segment tonight, I will announce who the winner is and they will get their own version of the perfect pair. So you don't have to want to be doing the exact shade Susan's doing. It just means that we're going to give you your own perfectly matched root color and gloss color. So you'll have the opportunity to consult with us later on your own once the winner is announced to get your full color experience, and we'll send that to you at no charge just for being here and wanting to color your hair with us. So we have some housekeeping that we need to let you know about. First things first, if you are watching us on Facebook Live, you can type your questions into Facebook Live, into the comments, and those will make their way over here through our sort of backstage team. So we'll answer them live so that you'll get to hear the answers just like you would the Q&A in the Zoom. We do ask if you can, a lot of us have multiple questions about hair color because there's so many more of you than us. If you could just try to boil it down to your one question that you want to ask, and then the other ones we can do via email. So if we can keep it to one question per person, that'll help us get to more people. Also, rename yourself if you have a question, whatever it is you want to be called. Because some of us, when we log in, Zoom will just say iPhone or iPad. So make sure you put your name down with the little 3 dots, or clicking on your square, go to the 3 dots, rename, and just put your first name. We do keep everyone muted until they have a question. If you do ask a question, we'll ask to unmute you. You hit unmute, and then we'll hear you talk. So here's how to ask a question, or to get in line to ask a question live. So we'll get started with doing the demo. If at any point you've got a question that you want to throw out there, If you are on a computer with Zoom, you go to reactions and you can do raise hand. And what that does for us is it lines you all up in a queue in order in which you raised your hand. And then we'll just call on you in that order. So just raise the hand, keep that hand up, and then we will call on you. If you don't get your question answered live here, don't fret. At the very end of the segment, we'll give you an email address and just email those questions, and we'll do personal consultations via email. And those emails go straight to me. So you'll be talking to the person that you see via email. Susan, am I forgetting anything about housekeeping? We talked about muting. We talked about renaming.
Oh, what about the contest? Yes,
Contest.
You have to have your camera on, right?
Yep. We got that. Well, I think you all pretty much know how this works. So let's get rolling. Susan is going to do her root gray maintenance cover up, as well as a beautiful color refreshing gloss. So I am going to turn it over to you, my friend, to show us how it's done.
Thank you, my darling. So first things first, let's have a look and see what I'm actually going to be doing, because you can tell from this that I've got a little bit of my work cut out. My color was done about 4 weeks ago, which is probably about right for most of us. You can see that I've got a fair amount of gray. Like most people, my gray is around the front hairline. I've got quite interesting because I haven't got much gray here, but everywhere else, yeah. So you can see I'm in dire need. So I'm going to get on with it. So what I've got is my Madison Reed kit. Everything that you need is in here. So these can come directly to you from madisonreed.com, or you can buy them in Ulta. That's a great place to go to get hold of one. I'm going to comb my hair through first. This is kind of important because before you start getting into the weeds, so to speak, you have to get rid of your tangles. Now, my hair is quite long. It's dark. My natural color isn't that far away from this. So what I'm going to be doing is covering up the grays and adding some warmth here. The color that I'm using is called Verona Brown. It looks like this. It has a number and a name. The number is just to tell us if I'm a colorist, which I am, what's in there. So I'm going to be using this on the roots, which is permanent color. And then I'm going to be using this on the ends, which is color reviving gloss. I'm actually going for a little bit of a change today. So where I've got my lighter pieces through here, what I'm going to be doing is adding a little bit of extra color. And that's what it's going to look like. So the color reviving gloss, that's what I'm going to get when I put that on my hair. So it's going to turn those highlighty bits through the ends a much brighter shade. So I'm experimenting.
This is very exciting. And what I love really quickly about the gloss is if you're watching this and you haven't seen gloss used before, we'll talk about it more extensively as we go, but it's wonderful because it kind of shampoos out after 6 to 8 shampoos. So you can flirt with different tones. Like just, 6 weeks ago, Susan did her hair and she used an amaretto gloss, which is much more like brick red, kind of brown based red, like a liqueur.
Mm-hmm.
And now that that's out, she can switch it up and go to this like brighter, more vivid kind of copper red, and it's going to look really beautiful.
Yeah, so I love to experiment with gloss. Today, obviously, what I'm doing is doing it in conjunction with putting the color on the roots. So I'm covering my grays and then using color reviving gloss. What we can also do is use the gloss in between times to revive the shade that you have. So that's a great way if you want to refresh your color, to introduce more shine, not change a whole lot if you don't want to, but it's always lovely to have shiny hair. So what I'm doing first of all, because I'm going to be very much focused on my front hairline here, is I'm using some Barry cream. This comes in every kit, and it comes to help those of us who are interested in not having the telltale signs. So just working a little bit around my hairline. I'm trying not to capture any grey hairs, because if I capture the grey hairs, they may not cover with colour. The bits that are important are around the tops of the ears and around the back of the neck. So this is really what we try to do, and I think this is true to say, isn't it, Siobhan, that we try to emulate the salon experience as much as possible.
Yeah.
So if I'm colouring people's hair in the salon environment, what I'll want to do is make sure that I don't get any stains on their skin. So I'll be doing something very similar to this. What I've also done in preparation is opened up my packets, because that's difficult to do with gloves on. I've also taken, here's the cap, box. Now I've taken the cap out. Sometimes I forget about the cap, so that's in my binder. And then I've got my clips and my comb. So before I do anything, I'm going to section my hair off. Now, if you have long hair like me, it can be really helpful to do this, because it kind of keeps you organized. What you'll find in the instruction manual is that we usually advise to go center parting and all the way down the back of the head. So I'm actually going to follow my natural parting, because I find it easier to work it like that. So comb each section, ideally. So you want to try and get some nice straight sections, just so that you can really try and organize yourself as much as possible. Then through the back of my head, I'm going to get a nice straight parting. Can you see that?
That looks good. That's really straight for not being able to see. Good job.
Let's hope I can do the same thing with the actual color application.
Yeah.
But that's a good start. So by splitting the hair in half, and now my hair's quite fine textured, but it's actually, there's quite a lot of it. So this is going to help me, hopefully, do my application. So once I've got myself organized, now it's time for the big thing. So what we're going to do, each tube comes sealed for freshness. So using the lid, I'm going to just pierce that. And then my applicator flask looks like this. This is important. If you don't mix these two together, you're not going to get a result. So I'm going to squidge, that's a technical term, the colour out into my bottle here. And I'm going to use all of it. Sometimes you might feel that you don't want to use all of it, and that's absolutely fine. If that's the case, though, don't mix it all up, because once you've mixed it, there's no going back.
That's right. Yeah, that's an important point. We get asked that question a lot. You know, if let's say I have baby fine hair, I've got really short hair and I'm not going to use that whole bottle. Is there any way that I can get 2 uses out of this? And to Susan's point, you absolutely can. You can use a bowl and a brush and mix them separately, like using just half of what's in the tube and half of what's in the bottle. But the key is when you recap that half-used tube and half-used bottle, it needs to be really tightly capped. But once you mix it, you can't like put the unused portion in the fridge and save it. Like it's game over after an hour mixed together. The color will oxidize and it won't work. And I wanted to add one more little prep tip here for your own sanity and bathroom cleanliness. Another thing that can be really helpful is before you color, when you're setting up your clips and your comb and all your stuff, is if you just put a sheet of foil or parchment paper down, and then all your drippies and all your gloved accessories just go on there, and then you can kind of like roll that up at the end of coloring, and boom, and you haven't like stained your sink, or you know, you're containing your little mise en place if you were a chef, right? So it's helpful. Just these little like staying organized when you're trying to do something can just help you move faster.
And one other thing that I would like to share, I'm wearing something that I don't have to take off over my head. So there's a zip at the back of here. I can just unzip and literally walk into the shower. I've made that mistake before, so that's why I'm pre-thinking it. So I'm actually going to use my applicator flask. I'm also going to use a bowl and brush. So I'm going to show you both ways. Some people like to use a bowl and brush because it's much more precise. If you're a regular hair colorist and you like to do kind of every 2 to 3 weeks, which some of us are, personally I'm not, but some people are, So it does help when you're using a bowl and brush to be a little bit more precise.
Susan, will you go a little closer to the camera? Can you? And still see yourself right? Okay, beautiful.
So here I am. Now, if you've got short hair, no need to section, because you'll see that when you put the color on, it actually holds the hair pretty safely there. So by getting the color on the hair, it actually helps you. Now, so you see, I've put quite a lot of color on, and even when I'm taking my section, so it's like the pages of a book, they're fairly close together. So I've got a nice lot of grey here that I'm wanting to cover up. So I'm putting a nice lot of colour on the hair, because that's going to help me when it comes to cover the grey. Really, what I like to tell my clients is there isn't much that can go wrong as long as you put enough colour on, and you make sure that it's applied evenly. So you can see at this stage, the colour is pale. You will see it change as it oxidizes, as it starts to work. Sometimes, even with blonde shades, that can be quite dramatic.
Mm-hmm.
But you can look at it and you can think, have I got the right color?
Yeah.
So don't panic.
And don't panic if you see a tone that's like, oh, it looks a little violet or pinkish, like raspberry yogurt, or this one kind of looks green. Hair color does all kinds of funny things while it's oxidizing and it's going through its tonal changes. You're totally fine. I promise. It sometimes looks a little scary in the bowl, but it's going to look beautiful brunette once it's done.
Yes, let's hope so. So here I am. When I'm using this applicator flask, notice what I'm doing is I'm holding it upside down so that the nozzle is against my scalp. So I'm not holding up here and letting it drip down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually touching my scalp with the nozzle. That way, it's easier for me to control the amount of color that's coming out. So it's just a little squeeze. I'm also starting just behind my hairline here, because if I'm right here and I squidge, it can go down here. So I'm wanting to keep it away from my face as much as possible and concentrate on my hair as
And
much.
Susan, you said something really great earlier, about us trying to bring at-home users who are doing this color on their own as close to the salon experience as possible. And one of the ways that I want to bring attention to this is a lot of folks, who are coloring their hair and have been coloring their own hair for a long time, they just think that we're supposed to put the color all over every time. Like I color my hair every 6 weeks and I just put it all over and rub it in, and that's what you're supposed to do. And that what can happen if we keep putting permanent color all over our hair again and again is it layers up on itself. So the hair at the root is brand new hair. It's only getting this hair color once, but over time, your mid lengths and ends, they're getting color after color after color. It's getting darker, inkier, drier. So this is why we're introducing this idea of here's how you get at just the root. And Susan has switched to the bowl and brush now on her right side. And this is also great for using that fine end of that brush to just get a nice straight line. And she can feel that coldness of the color hitting the scalp, so she can see and feel exactly where it's going.
Yes, and I'm so glad you said that. Now you can see what I'm doing with my brush is I'm actually being very clean. Can you see that there?
Yes.
So I've got a little line and I'm putting that directly where it needs to go. So I can use the end of my brush, contacting the skin. Now that's a useful tip, because especially when it comes to working behind my head, because obviously I won't have the benefit of being able to use the mirror, that will be useful because I can feel this as it's contacting my scalp, and I can also feel the coolness, which actually feels very nice, on my root area. So I can be pretty sure that I'm getting this color where it needs to go. And where it needs to go is on the gray hair. I don't need it to go through the mid-lengths and ends of my hair because this is already colored.
Yes.
Colored hair is much more sensitized than natural hair. And we know that because if those of us who have gray hair, very often your hair is fairly strong. And it's even when you've got color on it, kind of, you know, waves at you.
And you want this consistency to be like icing on a cake or like Greek yogurt. It should be on really nice and thick, because to Susan's point about those gray hairs, if anyone on this call has resistant gray hair, I'm sure you've had the experience where you put the color on and then you can literally see those guys like poking their way out. Like they will stand up on end and work their way up out of the color. Really the only way that you get them to behave is like slap that color on and weigh them. You're literally weighing them down. And the other thing I want to bring attention to, a lot of times when clients aren't getting good gray coverage, it's that simply the color is not touching all the hair. And that can happen when the sections that you're applying to are just simply too thick. So if you go back to that pages of a book analogy, the color is just touching the cover and the other cover. It's not getting the pages in between. Her section, these skinny little sections that she's doing horizontally, these are like 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch. So these are pretty small. And just, I think if you're applying color to your root, err on the side of a finer section.
Yes, and particularly if your hair texture is, my hair's fine, but there's quite a lot of it. Mm-hmm. So what's important is that I get those fine sections and really make sure that there's enough color. So you can almost see through that hair there, particularly the very front hairline. And that's what's quite nice about using a ball and brush, because I can really target with my brush. So what I'm doing is, there's the color here. I'm picking it up. There it is on the back, and then I'm pushing it against the side of the bowl, and then I'm picking it up from here. So I get a nice line. Mm-hmm. And then that line is what goes in at the root. So that's where I'm getting the control of putting it through the root area. And you can see that I've got lots of color where it counts, which is right on that hairline. So for me, this is the most important bit. I'm quite happy. Even if I was to stop here, I would be good to go.
And I'm going to take, Susan, as you're moving to the back, I wanted to take a question. We've got a couple folks waiting with their hand up, but I want to say something too about the pace at which Susan is going. Obviously, Susan's a professional colorist, so she moves kind of fast-ish, right? But if I'm telling you to take your time and take really skinny sections, you're probably going to take a little longer than what you see here. That's totally fine. Do not stress out that the time starts ticking at that first hair that you've painted on. There's nothing, when the hair color is done working, it's going to stop. Okay. And so you can take your time and be careful and not feel like, oh gosh, I better get this on in 10 minutes. Because you start the timer for the processing once all your roots are complete. And we build in the assumption that it's going to take you a little while to get there. So don't stress yourself out by trying to race against the clock. Take your time, do skinny sections. And right now, Susan's using that stain removing wipe that comes in the kit. This thing is from heaven. It will get stains, just, it's great. So make use of that while you're.
Because I've obviously got a little bit on my skin, and I don't want that on my skin. So that's why I've opened the cleansing wipe, and I'm cleaning it right now. So I'm going to zap it. So Siobhan, you take your question. I'm going to go around to the back and start working on that.
Beautiful. So, okay. So we'll take a question from Melanie. And so as you're watching Susan, just pay kind of attention to the direction that sections are going in. And then when we're done with Melanie's question, we'll come back and talk through some of the points verbally around grabbing the hair in the back. So Melanie, I'm going to ask to unmute you for your question.
Okay.
Hi, Melanie.
Hi. And I'm one of those who have put the color, not just on my roots, but I put it all over. Sometimes I use 2 tubes instead of one.
Yeah.
And I've even had my hairdresser put it on, and she gets irritated because she wants to put more of that chemical with the color. And I don't know if that's a good idea. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like,
I don't.
oh,
Tell me more about it.
well, I have really resistant gray. I mean, Susan has nothing compared to me. And so my question is two questions. One is, if I've been putting color, which I have been all over my hair and roots, and there's a buildup, what can I do? Should I try to take the buildup off? Or
Yes, and yes.
And how do I do that?
So you are just the most perfect segue creator. So there is a product that we sell at Madison Reed that is called Prime for Perfection. Prime for Perfection. And what this product is it is a really nice, gentle color buildup remover. It could not be any easier to put on because it comes out of the tube really liquidy, almost like water. You put it all over your hair. You wait 20 minutes. And what this product does is it reverses the oxidative dye that's built up in the hair. The reason that I say that, little bit of technical knowledge, is it's not going to do anything to your underlying natural hair. So what it will do, think of like when you go into a house that's been wallpapered a bunch of times and you start sanding down and you can see each layer as it comes through. That's what this does. It gradually is going to remove hair color. So what I would recommend, Melanie, is get yourself 1 tube to begin with. This stuff is so gentle, you can use it up to 4 times in one session. Get yourself 1 tube. I think it's $20 on the website. And you do it on clean, dry hair. Start a little bit off the root because you don't have color buildup on the root.
Right.
Rub it through, give it 20 minutes, shampoo it out, give it a quick dry, see if you need a little more. And then you can keep doing this again and again. And what this does is it reveals some of that nicer, more luminous color underneath that permanent color buildup. And this product is a lifesaver for clients who have that color buildup. It will just make your hair look how it used to look when you first started coloring it.
So once you shampoo it out, then the next time you still just do roots and you don't put color on the rest of your hair.
That's exactly right. So what you would do once that layer is removed is you would then transition to, now I'm just doing my roots. And instead of pulling permanent color through, you're going to do what we're demoing today, which is just put a gloss, because that just coats the outside of the hair. So you could do a tinted gloss. You could even do a clear gloss if you didn't want to affect the mid lengths and ends. And if you want, Melanie, when you see that email at the end of the show, email me and I'll even help you pick what gloss to use. Okay. And send you a link to the Prime for Perfection and all of that, get you kind of set up for success. That's a great questions.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Okay, so we'll pop back over and see how Susan's doing over here. And then I've got another question in the wings. Susan, talk us through where you are now.
Okay, so I've applied the color through this area of the hair. So what I did was use my applicator flask, exactly the same way that I'm doing this color through this side. I'm kind of working by feel, and that's very frankly how it's going. So with the brush, I can feel that's on my scalp. Then I'm taking the color and I'm applying that, I think, the parting there. So yep. I can feel the coolness of it on my scalp. I can't obviously see a thing, so I'm hoping that it's not looking too messy. But I think that through this back area here, oftentimes people do worry a lot about, oh my gosh, I can't get the back. You know, maybe you enroll your husband or your wife to get that going on. And that can be brilliant if you can train them. But you can actually manage just by feel. And I think this is one of the things that people are most frightened of, is coloring their hair at the back. When I talk to my clients about doing their own hair at home, they're like, oh no, I couldn't possibly. But in actual fact, once you've done it a couple of times, it's actually not too bad. So I'm working, I can feel around my hairline. I'm coming to the end of my bowl application. I want to make sure it's nicely covered there. And how does it look, Siobhan?
It was looking so good. So it's funny because you will always say, oh, I don't know how this is going in the back. And you always do really great, perfect sectionings. That was lovely, straight, horizontal. And here's the other thing. And we say this to everyone that we're teaching color to all the time. You really want to get like the front very good and this top crown area pretty good. But you know what? If you miss a hair or two back here, it's A, it's not the end of the world. And B, the other thing is once you get the color kind of applied in the root, you
Yes.
can take your gloved hand and go through and just massage. Because again, when it comes to the back, you're doing it by feel. So you can just kind of like massage it in with your fingertips and make sure that those roots are emulsified and you're going to be fine. But we do get a lot of like, how do I do the back if I can't see it? By feel, and that bowl and brush is pretty helpful for that.
So here I am, I'm going back in with my fingertips and I'm not even looking in the mirror. So I can feel what I'm doing here. So just literally massaging it in gently. You don't want to do this too much because obviously I don't want to pull the color down the lengths of the hair and obviously get the ends darker. But you can see how it started to oxidize here. So where it started to go dark, that's what's supposed to happen. So we're in a good spot. What I'm now going to do is go through and do a kind of this is a professional tip. So remember before I went from the front to the back and we took those skinny sections. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to go from the bottom to the top. And I'm going to take my applicator flask and put that through the root area, a little bit of extra color. And see, I'm just going to massage it in with my fingers, just like I'm doing through the back of the head. I'm not going to really cross-check the back because it's kind of tricky once the color's on there. But through the front, I can do this fairly simplistically. So I'm going to do that. And I know that, Siobhan, when you speak to your clients about doing hair at home, you're a big one for cross-checking, aren't you?
Yes, I adamantly believe in cross-checking because it takes you a few seconds to do and it's going to save you the frustration of finding out that you missed a gray hair later and having to redo your whole head. Yeah. So cross-check. It's easy. It takes just a couple seconds and it's going to save you frustration down the road.
Well, and the other thing is that this is the time to do it because we can see how it's gone dark through here. So if I have missed any bits and bobs, I can slap them right here, right now.
Yeah.
And we'll be good to go. So I've got a little bit of color left in my applicator flask. So this is the ideal time to use that up. We don't want to get it through the mid-lengths and ends. So just literally through the root area. It's still a little bit paler in here, so you can see it going onto the roots. And you can also see where it's, perhaps you've missed a bit. What's useful at this point as well is to go back and have a look at any grays. So oftentimes, especially if you've got resistant grays, and I know that see, here's a bit that I've missed. So we can zap that. What will happen is that they will kind of escape, oops, there we go, escape from the color. So you just have to stick them down, make sure that nobody's getting free.
That's right, get them.
Yeah, I'm chasing them down.
So while you chase those down, I am going to take another question. LaToya, I'm going to come in over to ask to unmute you. Boop. Do we gotcha?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Great.
So my question is, if someone who hasn't colored their hair in a long time, should they just do an all over color if they're just looking to cover, you know, their grays? and they don't know the color that they should go by, what do you suggest that they do?
Okay, great question. This is a really good question because, right, roots and gloss is not always the answer. There are some times where you need a full color. You need your whole head colored. And to your point, if you haven't colored your hair in a really long time, like if there's kind of more outgrowth than non-outgrowth, that's a great time to do that full color application. And in that case, what I would say is apply to the natural, new growth hair first for the longest time. Whatever has been color treated before, leave that out. And then set your timer for, say, if you've got gray hair, set your timer for 25 minutes. And then at those last 20, pull the color through the ends, then set your timer for another 20. And then that way, the pre-color treated hair is just getting like a kiss of color for 20 minutes, and then the gray is getting fully covered. So that was a really good call out, right? Having a lot of grow out, that's a time to do an all over color. Another time to do an all over color is obviously if you've never colored your hair before. So if all your hair is what we call virgin hair, if you did roots and gloss, once the gloss fades out, only your roots are going to be color treated. So yes, you would have needed that full color application. And then the other time is if you're switching, like if you're going from being a red to a brunette, then you would want to do a full color. So think of roots and glosses. I've got my right color, now I'm maintaining it. And I'm just going in and hitting permanent color only on the roots, and then shining everything up, giving everything else a shine treatment with that gloss. Did I answer your question?
No, that was a perfect answer. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. That was a really good one, because I could have probably talked this whole time and never mentioned full color, which is a disservice because some people need full color.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so tell us about your gloss application. So everybody knows what you're doing.
I've dealt with my grays because that's permanent color, which I've put on through the roots area. Now what I'm doing is using color reviving gloss. This is the color. So the great thing about color reviving gloss is it does not put your hair through any type of chemical treatment at all. So what it's doing is it's just literally, it's like using lip gloss on your hair. It's just putting like a tinted shine shield is the way I like to describe it.
Yes.
It's a layer of color, just like a layer of lip gloss, going over the existing color that's under there. So the result that you get is going to be dependent on what your starting point is. So some bits of my hair, you can see here, are kind of light. So I've done some highlights, and I'm no stranger to hair color. So I've put a fair few bits and bobs on there before. I mostly like to use color reviving gloss, and here's why. I love the shine. I love the shine that I get. I love the ease of it, working it through the hair. And I absolutely love the fact that I can use it with confidence, because I know that there's nothing wrong that I can do.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm doing here is I'm making sure, see there's a little dry bit here. We put this on dry hair because we can see what we're doing. Look at that. Yum. So by making it all, and you can almost see the type of shine you're going to get. I'm trying to avoid going up here.
Yeah.
This is where my permanent color is. And in fact, there's another bit I can probably, just to be on the safe side, I'm going to cover that up. And then away from the root. So I'm kind of starting about here. And when you watch me do it, I actually put a little bit here first, work that in, and then work it up to the root area. So I don't want to overlap onto this permanent color here. I want to keep my gloss a little bit separate. They can meet and hold hands, but they can't go out with each other. So I'm going to flirt with this red.
So you notice when Susan's applying the gloss, it looks much less technical than when she's applying her root color, right? She's not using those skinny sections. She's not using a Bowlen brush. gloss doesn't need to be mixed with any developer. It's used straight out of the tube. So what you see is what you get. That red pigment that's coming out of the tube, that's how it's going to look. It doesn't oxidize like how we were talking about with the root color, how it changes shades. Yeah, that's exactly it. So a couple kind of key things to know about color reviving gloss, especially if you've never used it before. This is very much salon normal. If you go in and you get your hair color done by a professional colorist, 9 times out of 10, they're doing what we call color balancing, which is putting permanent color only on the roots and then using some kind of a gloss or glaze on the mid lengths and ends. And as clients, we don't necessarily know that. We just know, I don't know, all my hair is wet. And then when he washes it out, it's a different color than when I started and I have no gray. But very rarely are we actually pulling permanent color all the way through. So here's the things to kind of keep in mind about the color reviving gloss. Number one, this doesn't cover or blend gray at all. This really is just a shine product and to tone the hair and to bring that sort of like tinted veil. And I love what Susan was saying about the lip gloss. Think about permanent color as lipstick, right? It's opaque, it has coverage. And then the color reviving gloss is lip gloss. It's sheer, it's shiny, it's just giving you a little bit of tint. You can use this in conjunction with doing your roots at the same time. And if you don't want to do that, or if you want more time, then you can do it after or separate. Also, we love to throw gloss on all over in between root touch-ups, just to like bring back that juiciness and that richness back to the hair, because there's a processing time of 20 to 35 minutes with this gloss. So if you just wanted a little subtle toning, you can just throw it on 20 minutes and be done in between coloring sessions. And it's so you apply it like you apply shampoo. I mean, it just goes right on the hair. You rub it in really well, and that's it.
Yes, and the important thing is to make sure you use enough. And if you're watching what I'm doing, I'm using a small amount first, and then I can feel it through my gloves, how it's working through my hair. So you can see it goes from being pretty dry here to being completely wet here. What I'm also doing is, and important point here, I think, Siobhan, which I forgot to mention, once I've put my permanent color on the roots, that's when I'm starting my timer. So the timer starts, usually we say 35 minutes. Because I don't want to see any gray at all, I started my timer for 45 minutes. And then because that's, if I've got resistant hair or if I just want to be on the safe side, I will leave it that little extra 10 minutes longer. So that's when my timer starts. So I'm taking my time here. It's important, and it's a little bit messy. It's a little bit on the messy side.
It's a little drippy, the gloss. It's drippier than the radiant cream color that you're using on your roots.
But that's good because it means it works easily through the hair, and it means that you can really get it where you need it to go.
So Susan, while you continue to work that through, I've got a few questions waiting. I've got some coming through Facebook Live, so I want to address that. And then I do want to pop over to our special guest from SheKnows tonight. So Anna from Facebook Live has a great question. I'm going to read it out loud because I think a lot of us can probably benefit from it. So Anna says, I had highlights before and I had to buy 2 packets of color to cover my hair because it's long. Well, I always have to buy 2. I don't want my roots to look a darker color and my ends are fading from the lighter color from the highlights. So a couple cool things to know. You probably will not always need to buy 2 tubes because you're going from doing all over color to cover up your highlights to just doing the roots. So regardless of what shade you're using on the roots, you'll only need probably that 1 tube for that. But when you order from Madison Reed, it's kind of hard to do this online. You might have to chat in or call, but when you get a hair color kit, you don't have to buy 2 kits, full kits, if you just need a little extra color. We have something where you can just buy that extra tube and activator and add it, or it's like a bigger bottle of activator. So there's a way that without buying 2 full kits, you can get more color. So if you ever need that, just pin that in your head for future use that you could do that, Anna. But then the other thing is when you're doing your just your roots, you'll probably just want one box of color for the roots and then just one gloss, because what's going to keep you from fading is using the gloss instead, because this is kind of counterintuitive to us. But if you think about it, we use that permanent color pull through strategy to help with fading. The hair's fading, so we put the permanent color through. But what's happening is that developer's opening up your hair cuticle and it's causing more fading. So to break that cycle, we want to get you off the permanent color here and then onto gloss. And that's really going to help. Okay, so we have so many good questions happening. Remember, please don't forget, we're going to show you an email address at the end where you can email and we can do one-on-one consults. I can help you buy your product. I can answer all your questions. But we do want to hear, because Susan is ready to do her thing and process for a half hour and watch Netflix and have a glass of wine. And Eugenia is going to tell us what else she does to multitask this half hour.
Thanks so much, Siobhan. So too often when I'm coloring my hair, I'm getting a lot of other things done on my to-do list. I'm grocery shopping on my phone. I'm buying diapers from Amazon. I'm checking emails. But you know what? This moment when you're coloring your hair is the perfect time to just focus on yourself and your own self-care. And really just to breathe and just be present. So I recommend, face masks can be really messy. It can interfere with, your hairline and what you're already working on with your hair. So I recommend eye patches. Eye patches can make your skin feel brightened and really complement your new hair color. So I have chosen a pair of eye patches to demonstrate from a story on our site. If you go to SheKnows.com, we have a story on the top module about quick and easy self-care tips for moms, but really for anybody who just wants kind of a moment to themselves and to make their skin look good. So these gel eye patches, they're really great because they stick to your skin. They're not going to fall off. They have a cooling effect, which I find really nice in the summer. It was a really hot day today in New York, and it's probably hot in a lot of places across the country. So these can really make your skin feel a lot cooler. And they have some key ingredients, which I recommend. You don't have to buy these exact gel patches. They're number 3 on the list in the story. You don't have to buy these. The key ingredients are caffeine. Caffeine helps with redness and puffiness, and hydrolyzed collagen. Hydrolyzed collagen helps improve elasticity, which in the long run helps with wrinkles. So I will demonstrate putting these on. And they are for all skin types, this particular eye patch. So you put it as close as possible to your eyelids and underneath your eyelashes. Try not to get your eyelashes in there. And
so Eugenia, while you're putting those on, I had a quick question. So I have done this. I do this regularly. I don't know if I'm supposed to, probably not. I'm not sure. But I like to stick these in the fridge, and then it gives me that little extra zap of refresh. I know the jury's kind of out on putting your beauty products in the fridge. What's your call on this one?
I don't put anything in the fridge unless the packaging says you can, because I don't want to change the way the ingredients interact with my skin. These in particular, what's great about gel patches is that they have a cooling effect already. So they feel like they were in the fridge, okay, even though they weren't. And I, in particular, buy the travel size, so you can kind of keep them in your purse. You can put them on at any moment if you're commuting, if you're at school pickup, and they're just as cool. They feel like they were in the fridge, even though they were in your purse.
So. Okay, so I might not be doing myself any favors by sticking them in the fridge, is what I'm hearing.
No.
Okay, no. Got it.
So So you can keep these on for 5 minutes or longer. I personally would prefer to keep them on longer because they actually feel really nice. They also moisturize your skin. So, you know, they're helping with elasticity, wrinkles, puffiness, redness, and they also have a moisturizing effect on your skin. So when the 5 minutes are up, you can, or longer, these are really easy to discard. You just throw them out. There's nothing else you have to do. No mess, no cleanup really. And I like to take the leftover like serum in the packaging and apply it afterward to kind of reinforce the moisturizing effect. And you don't have to, I mean, you can go straight to makeup after this. You know, don't have to wash it off. You let the ingredients soak in and stay there. And you can do this in the mornings too. Like, it's not something that you should only do like once a week or once a month or once every 6 weeks. If you want to do this every day as part of your like morning routine before your makeup on, get your makeup on, it's perfectly fine. I don't have that much time to do them every day, but you know, I think having the travel size packages is really helpful in trying to like fit it in your routine. They also come in like a larger package. There's about $35 for the bigger box. You can keep it at home, put it on while you're watching Netflix or just at any other time. And, you know, I think once you take them off, it really has a brightening effect on your skin, and it can complement your hair color. You'll feel younger, you'll feel rejuvenated, you'll feel refreshed, your skin will look refreshed, and it'll just match your hair color. So
yeah, like your hair is looking juicy and luminous and dewy, and your skin is looking luminous and dewy, and you're just like got a little skip in your step. I like that.
exactly. I'm like, they feel so good. I don't even want to take them off.
Yeah, don't just let them sit there. Why not?
I'll keep them on for a little bit longer.
I was telling our colleagues before we were coming on about these eye patches. It's a little silly, but I don't really care how I look in public sometimes. When I'm traveling for work, which I do to go to all of our hair color bars, when the pilot makes that announcement that we're making our descent, I'll slap those on because I know I've got like about 20 minutes before I have to see another human. And then right before you get off the plane with your bag, just pop it. Because you know how air travel makes you kind of crepey and just like dry and feeling icky? It's just like a nice little lift. It just feels good and you feel almost like woken up. So
yeah, exactly, for sure. No shame. Pop them on whenever you have a moment to yourself.
That's right. Anything that you're doing, you can be probably doing it with your eye patches on, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Eugenia. Okay, so we have a couple more questions now. Susan, just to bounce back over to you really quickly, we've got a little bit more than 5 minutes left. Is there anything that we need to know before we head over to questions about your cap process?
Well, just super fast. Once all the colors on, what's great is this comes in a kit, very glamorous. It goes over everything. So gloss, roots, everything. And then just place it back from the hairline a little bit so that it's not smushing everything onto your skin, and then hang out for the rest of the processing time. So for me, that's going to be around about 30 more minutes. And then I shall shampoo and you will get to see the result later on.
Oh, that's right. We should tell you. That's right. Where those after photos will be found. So obviously we're not going to hang out for 40 minutes and wait for the whole shampoo process, but you're going to get a follow-up email. So when you attend, we've got the email from Zoom. We'll just send you an email with the recap, remind you what Susan used, and you'll get your before and after photo there. All right, so let's take a couple more questions. Let's end this night with a few questions. So Cindy, I'm going to ask to unmute you. You've been waiting a little while. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, I have an autoimmune disease and it's affected my hair. Yeah. And I've never colored it, but I just recently lost 234 pounds.
Wow.
And I want a new look. I don't want the gray anymore.
Okay,
so,
well.
I live in the Chicago area and I've been thinking not that far from Oak Brook where the color bar is, I've been thinking I need to go over there and really find out what to do.
Yes, you should. Cindy, so Oak Brook is this beautiful suburb of Chicago, and we just opened it, and it's in a beautiful shopping center, and they have a wonderful staff. I am so glad that you live there. They're the warmest, friendliest people ever. Please go to the Oak Brook Hair Color Bar, and if you don't get your hair done there, at the very least, they will color match you, and you'll have a great time, and they'll set you up for success.
Okay, I'm just tired of this. I feel like it's part of the old me. So I want to try to do something different for the new me.
You know what, Cindy? Oh my goodness.
I have people don't recognize me at all to lose that amount of weight. And
that's an amazing success story, Cindy. You need a whole new look.
Yes, a whole new look. So it's been really a long journey. So I just want a new me.
Wonderful. That's wonderful.
Well,
I want to go
Cindy,
back to a brown color, not gray.
I think I'm just going to have to call an audible and say that we have 2 contest winners tonight, and you're going to be one of them. So
thank you.
Why don't you email me when we get done tonight, and
Sure.
I will. I'll put a credit on our system for you, so that whatever those fine people at Oak Brook say that you need to use, it's going to be on us.
Well, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Congratulations. It sounds like you're moving in the right direction for a new Cindy. Hey.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're happy for you. Okay, email me and we'll be in touch.
I will.
Okay.
I do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, God, that made my night. Okay, so I've got someone else waiting. Laura. Oh, there you are, Laura. Laura, I'm going to ask to unmute you. Okay.
No, I am. Okay. Thank you. I have a question about, or what is the difference between gloss and toner?
Great question. Great question, Laura. Well, there isn't a big difference between gloss and toner because they do sometimes do the same thing. But generally speaking, gloss is something that you would use like you've seen me do tonight. So you have permanent color on your roots, you put gloss through the ends. It tends to stay on for 20 to 30 minutes. You don't have to mix it with anything. And then you just rinse, take it off with your color, and you're good to go. And you can use that with permanent color on the roots in the perfect pair, like we're doing tonight, or you can do that just on its own. Toner is generally what a hairdresser will describe as being something that is toning hair that's been lightened. So it's usually over highlighted hair. And what it's usually doing is it's getting rid of any extra or unwanted warmth. So if you've had highlights in the past and your hairdresser's put something over those highlights that stayed on maybe for about 10 minutes, that will be a toner. So that's very loosely what is the difference between gloss and toner. Am I missing anything there, Siobhan? I know I just...
No, they're very, very similar. And you could almost kind of consider like toner is an umbrella and like color reviving gloss is like living under that umbrella. It's almost kind of like a subcategory of what could be considered a toner. So they're very close. That was a very good question.
Now, I want to ask one question about the eye patches. Can you leave them on overnight?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think that might be.
Our dear, are you still with us?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't recommend the entire night. They aren't their nighttime patches. They're 5-minute patches, but you can leave them on longer if desired. I just wouldn't do the entire night.
I will add to that, Laura, with a personal story, because anything you tell me that I can't do with a beauty product, I'm going to try. I did sleep in the eye patches one night and they dried. And then in the morning, they were like difficult and kind of almost ripped my under eye skin taking them off because they dried onto my skin. Yes. So I would say I'm not the expert, but that was my experience. So I would like give it a 30-minute tops.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, learn from my pain. Don't go through your own pain finding this out. Okay, well, we could probably talk all night. This is so fun for us, and we love doing, color chatting with all of you. We need to, in addition to Cindy, our honorary contest winner for tonight, our official contest winner is Jerry, Jeri. Jerry, you please, we will be in touch. Actually shoot us an email. Let us know that you are the winner. If I don't hear from you, I'll email you. This is the email address. It's haircolorhouseparty@madison-reed.com. Please don't forget the hyphen. If you miss the hyphen, it will kick the email back to you. Any additional questions, color matching, please send them our way. And keep your eye on email, Facebook for all these announcements about our next Hair Color House Party. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Eugenia. Thank you, Susan. Have a great night, everyone.
Bye. Thank you. Have a good night.